I knew Stevie J real well, bro. I knew Stevie J when he was with Bad Boy, one of the hitmen, when him and Puff fell out.
Ever since Sean Diddy Combs was arrested on September 16th, 2024, it seems like there's been no end to the whirlwind of accusations and lawsuits swirling around him. But if you thought that was all there was to the story, think again. Recently, Gene Deal, who used to be Diddy's bodyguard and knows him like few others do, shared a pretty jaw-dropping claim that Diddy might have had a secret romantic relationship with Stevie J. Curious? Stick around. Because it's wild, especially when you hear why Stevie J was supposedly happy after the notorious B.I.G. passed away. Gene Deal is probably one of the few people out there who knows Diddy's life inside and out. Since the early days of Bad Boy Entertainment, Gene was right by Diddy's side, seeing things most people never even hear about. From the good moments to all the buried secrets, Gene's got stories. That's why whenever Diddy's name comes up in the news, people want Gene's take, because he's one of the rare people who truly knows it all. With him, you're getting the unfiltered truth, not just some rumor. Now, in his latest reveal, Gene, who worked for the Bad Boy for Life himself, opened up about Diddy and Stevie J, dropping more questions than answers. So, what exactly did he say? And what's the story behind it? When talking about Diddy's relationship with Stevie J, Gene made some comments that were a bit, well, confusing. To make sense of it, let's break down what he said. He went on the Art of Dialogue podcast and talked about everything from Diddy's alleged relationship with Stevie J to some surprising allegations brought up by Rodney. So, if you're ready to dive into this and see what's really going on, let's get into it. It's bound to leave you with even more questions. So, you know Lil Rod Jones? He's been saying that Diddy had relationships with other guys. According to Gene Deal, Lil Rod was convinced by Diddy that Stevie J was getting it on with some unnamed Caucasian guy. Gene even mentioned that Diddy showed Lil Rod a video that supposedly had someone who looked like Stevie J doing some pretty explicit stuff with this guy. In a recent interview, Gene suggested that Lil Rod might have been a little under the influence when he watched the video. So that raises some eyebrows. Why did Gene think Rodney Lil Rod Jones could have been high? Well, Diddy, or Sean Combs, has this reputation for getting people into lifestyles they might not normally be into. Take Cassie, for example, Cassandra Ventura. She said that during her time with Diddy, he got her into a routine of daily drinking and using substances. That's just one story, but it kind of shows a pattern. If Gene is hinting that Diddy can push people into this kind of lifestyle, and Cassie has a similar experience, it definitely makes you wonder about Diddy's influence, right? Now let's unpack what Gene was saying about Lil Rod possibly being high when he saw that video. Gene believes that Diddy might have given Lil Rod something to mess with his judgment before showing him the footage. He noted how much Lil Rod looked up to Stevie J, not just as a producer, but as a real role model and icon. For Lil Rod, Stevie J's music was more than just songs. It was like a calling for him. With all this in mind, it seems like Diddy, who's also known as Puff Daddy, knew how much Lil Rod admired Stevie J and could have used that to his advantage. Gene hinted that Diddy might have slipped Lil Rod some substances or laced his drink to cloud his judgment before hitting play on that unclear video. And to make things even wilder, Gene mentioned that an exotic worker came forward later, claiming that it was actually him in the video, not Stevie J. Hey everyone. So let's get into this buzz that's been making the rounds lately. You've probably heard about that video claiming to show Stevie J in a pretty awkward situation. But guess what? It turns out it's just a look-alike. Can you believe that? This whole drama kicked off during a chat with Gene Deal, who first spilled the tea but then totally switched up his story. It's like a wild ride, right? Before we dive into the twist with Diddy and Stevie J, let's take a moment to see what Gene had to say on the Art of Dialogue podcast. Seriously, you'll want to hear this. So during their conversation, Gene mentioned that an exotic worker stepped up, claiming he was the one mistaken for Stevie J in that video. But here's the kicker. The footage wasn't even that clear. Just imagine being in Lil Rod's shoes, a young artist looking up to a legend, and then Diddy tells you that the guy in the video is actually Stevie J. That's gotta be a lot to process, right? And it gets even more interesting. Gene hinted that Lil Rod might have been a bit tipsy when he caught that video. Can you picture it? Diddy leaning in, pointing at the screen, and saying, "Hey, you admire this guy, look at what he's doing." That's Stevie J. You can almost feel the pressure on Lil Rod to just roll with it. When someone like Diddy makes a statement like that, it's easy to see how Lil Rod might think, "Wow, that really looks like Stevie J." Now let's take a step back and think about this for a second. At that point, Lil Rod was totally influenced by Sean Combs. Diddy isn't just some big name, he's a legend in the game, known for bringing up other icons. Lil Rod knew all about Diddy's amazing history, working with producers like Stevie J and legends like the Notorious B.I.G. And there's even a rumor going around that Lil Rod felt he had to accept whatever Diddy said as the truth. But wait, it gets even spicier. Gene suggested that Lil Rod probably told Diddy how much he admired Stevie J. Just picture that moment. Lil Rod saying, "I really look up to Stevie J," and Diddy responding, "This is someone you should aspire to be like. Look at what he's doing. You should be doing that too." It's like this cool mentor-mentee vibe happening right there. And to make things even more interesting, there are whispers that Diddy might have had some romantic feelings for Rodney Lil Rod Jones. Can you believe that? This story just keeps getting wilder. So, what do you think? Was it all just admiration? Or is there something deeper going on behind the scenes? Stick around, because we're going to dig even deeper into this unfolding saga. There's so much more to explore. Hey there. Let's take a moment to chat about the fascinating drama surrounding the founder of Bad Boy Records and his former bodyguard. So, Gene Deal approached the whole Sean Combs and Stevie J situation in two different ways, and honestly, the details are pretty wild. But before we dive into the second approach, let's talk about what Lil Rod had to say that hinted at a possible romantic link between Stevie J and Diddy. To get a clearer picture, we should check out the lawsuits surrounding Sean Combs, especially the one filed by Rodney Lil Rod Jones. This isn't just some boring legal stuff. It's really important for understanding what's been going on. Since November 2023, Diddy has been in a bit of a legal storm, mostly dealing with lawsuits from women. But one in particular really stands out. That's where Lil Rod comes in. He used to be a producer at Bad Boy Entertainment, and he's claimed that Diddy harassed him in a sexual manner. Can you believe it? And this is happening at a time when Diddy was already under a lot of scrutiny, especially after his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, filed her own lawsuit. Lil Rod shared that Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, made advances that made him feel uncomfortable and pressured. He describes a once promising mentorship that ended up going south. At first, everything seemed great. Lil Rod was a rising talent, flourishing under Diddy's mentorship. But as they worked together, things started to get tense, both creatively and financially. It's interesting to note that while Lil Rod looked up to Diddy, their dynamic changed drastically, leading to some pretty explosive claims that have everyone buzzing. What do you think? This whole situation is just the beginning of a tangled web of relationships, lawsuits, and some shocking revelations. Let's keep digging in, Tut Combs. But when his dream of working with the music mogul began to materialize, things started to change. Sean Combs and Lil Rod were working on a project that didn't just cause a disagreement between the two, but also created buzz among bloggers and vloggers alike. According to Lil Rod, he envisioned the project as a reflection of his style and ideas. But on the other hand, while Lil Rod was starting out as a producer in the music industry, Sean Combs was already a well-established music producer and executive. So, let's talk about Diddy for a moment. You know him as a perfectionist, right? Well, he really wanted to push his vision on everyone, and that's when things started to go south. What kicked off as a cool collaboration turned into a pretty draining relationship, which led to some serious disagreements. Sean Diddy Combs saw Lil Rod as this eager protege, someone who was still learning the ropes of the music industry. They were working on an album called The Love Album, Off the Grid, which dropped in 2023. Now, after the album came out, it turned out there was a ton of drama behind the scenes. Back in 2022, Rodney Lil Rod Jones joined forces with Sean to work on this project, marking Sean's first studio album since 2006. when he was still going by P. Diddy. According to some reports, it seems Sean might have developed some romantic feelings for Lil Rod and went out of his way to pursue him. There were whispers that Diddy tried all sorts of tactics to get Lil Rod to get involved with him, even claiming that everyone in the industry was into same-sex encounters. Supposedly, this was why he showed Lil Rod a video that allegedly featured Stevie J. But here's the catch. It's not really clear if it was actually Stevie J in the video or just someone who looked like him. In the lawsuit that Lil Rod filed, he mentioned he spent 13 months with Sean while they worked on the album. During that time, there were allegations that Diddy spiked Lil Rod's drinks to mess with his judgment, trying to take advantage of him. The lawsuit also claims that Sean forced Lil Rod to watch him shower, supposedly to provoke him, though Lil Rod insisted that didn't really work and called it one of the most uncomfortable experiences he faced while working for the self-proclaimed bad boy for life. On top of all that, Lil Rod alleged that Sean admitted to hooking up with Stevie J, an unnamed rapper, and an unnamed R&B singer. The lawsuit even describes the unnamed rapper, saying he was born and raised in Philadelphia. So, there's a lot of chatter going around about Nicki Minaj's dating life, and people are saying she might be getting back together with Meek Mill. He seems to fit the profile, but just a heads up, it's all just speculation at this point. Meek himself isn't having any of it, though. He's actually taken to social media to deny all the rumors and even offered a nice reward for anyone who can help figure out where this gossip is coming from. You can tell he really wants to distance himself from all this drama, especially with Diddy's recent arrest on September 16, 2024. That situation has made a lot of celebrities suddenly get linked to him. And guess what? There's even more to the story. There's been some buzz about an unnamed R&B singer mentioned in the lawsuit from Rodney Lil Rod Jones. A lot of people are thinking that it might be Usher. The reason for that? Well, Usher and Diddy go way back. They've been collaborating since Usher was just a kid. They even went to the Puffy Flavor camp together. They were super close at one point, so it makes sense why folks are making that connection. On top of all this, Lil Rod has dropped some serious tea in the lawsuit. He claims that after spending 13 months working on the album and living with Diddy, he only got paid $21,000. Can you believe that? He's definitely feeling underappreciated and thinks he deserves a lot more for all the effort he put in. This has sparked quite a bit of conversation among fans and the public about what fair pay really looks like in the music biz. Rumors are flying and speculation is heating up. Some believe Lil Rod might be throwing accusations at Sean Diddy Combs just to cash in. But think about it. Working on an album for 13 months and walking away with only $21,000? That sounds like a raw deal, and many fans feel Lil Rod deserved a lot more for his efforts. Diddy's lawyers, however, claim it's all lies, chalking it up to a money grab. It's tough to know who's telling the truth. But as this case unfolds, we're bound to see more surprising details come to light. So how did Gene Deal take his revelations about the Bad Boy Entertainment founder even further? In a jaw-dropping interview with the Art of Dialogue podcast, Deal didn't hold back, suggesting that Stevie J and Diddy were actually romantically involved. And he didn't stop there. Deal approached this bombshell from two angles. First, he hinted that the video supposedly shown to Rodney Lil Rod Jones might not have featured Stevie J at all. He suggested that maybe Lil Rod was too out of it to recognize who was in the clip. Then, Deal mentioned an exotic dancer stepping up, claiming to be the one in the video, insisting it wasn't Stevie J. According to Deal, this dancer looked so much like Stevie J that they even shared similar expressions. But as the interview went on, Deal dropped another twist, switching gears to say Stevie J and Diddy were indeed involved in sexual acts. He went even further, alleging that both were using cocaine. With layers upon layers to this story, it's clear we haven't heard the last of it. All right, let's settle in, because this story is turning into a full-blown roller coaster. Word on the street is that Lil Rod might be calling out Sean Diddy Combs to get some extra cash. But really, can you blame him? Imagine putting in over a year's work on an album and walking away with only $21,000. Not exactly the payday he was probably hoping for, and tons of fans are backing him up, saying he deserved a lot more. Diddy's lawyers, though, are pushing back, calling it a cash grab. Who's got the real story here? Hard to say, but one thing's for sure. This case isn't cooling down anytime soon, and it looks like there are plenty more twists to come. And then there's Gene Deal, who really threw gasoline on the fire during his interview on the Art of Dialogue podcast. He went all in, hinting that Stevie J and Diddy might have been romantically involved. But wait, it gets even spicier. Deal didn't just stop there. He came at it from two different angles. First, he suggested that the video supposedly shown to Rodney Lil Rod Jones might not have had Stevie J in it at all. Maybe Lil Rod wasn't exactly in the clearest state of mind and got it mixed up? And to make things even wilder, Deal brought up an exotic dancer who came forward, claiming she was actually the one in the video, not Stevie J. And get this, she even looked enough like him to share the same facial expressions. And just when you think there couldn't possibly be more, Deal tossed out one last twist, saying Stevie J and Diddy were, in fact, involved in intimate acts. And he even alleged that both of them were using cocaine. With so many layers piling on, it feels like we're just scratching the surface here. And if this is only the beginning, who knows what's next?